Good morning. So the readings that we are presented with this Sunday really speak into the state of the world right now, what's going on in our culture. As we're all aware that it seems no matter how hard we try as a nation or what laws are passed, what party has the helm, try as the government will, we just can't seem to get it right. And Moses speaks right into that reality when he says this. Hear it again. This command, he says, is already in your hearts. You have only to carry it out. So what's this command then that's in our hearts? Well, Jesus, in his dialogue with the scribe today in the Gospels, addressing the exact same thing. And the scribe summarizes it for him and for us. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your being, with all your strength, and with all your mind. And your neighbor as yourself. To love God and to love others is at the root inside of our souls of who we are. That's who we are. Which means that we would have to live against our very self, not to love God or a God, and subsequently other people. Now, one could probably stop there this Sunday and just simply say, there you have it. Take that with you and meditate on it this week. And are you loving the real God and others as you love yourself? But it's far deeper than that. And this is how it all plays out. If we look at history or our present time through this prism, analyzing religions, governments, individual people, we will find that when they either put the wrong God in that place inside of our hearts, or we put man, government, ideological thinking, movements in that place, that the whole system of humanity goes horribly, horribly wrong. And our neighbor, people, if you will, always suffer. And even more mysterious, those causing the suffering, having the wrong God in that place in their soul, will firmly believe and be convicted that they are doing the right thing. As religiously convicted as we are in the Eucharist. So much so that it can seem absolutely insane. So I ask you, have you found yourself in the times that we're living in confronted with certain things that are happening in the culture that many people seem to support very, very fervently with tremendous conviction? That when you really look at what they're saying, you say to yourself, that's insanity. I know I have. Now, Jesus continues on in this parable, or in this interaction with this parable. And this parable is going to speak to every generation that's ever going to live. And a lot of the times, I think when you hear it, right, you just sort of come to the conclusion that, yes, it's a nice story. And the scribe's, statement at the end, the one who showed him of mercy, go and do likewise. Okay, it's all about mercy. No, it's much deeper than that. And if you were a Jew living at the time, you would have seen the deeper elements of it. And it is this. First off, I want you to think about the actual situation that's happening, right? Because a lot of the times we can just hear this stuff, sounds like a nice story, and we move on. So you're out in your neighborhood, wherever you live, for your walk or jog or whatever it is you do, but you're in the neighborhood and you come across someone in duress. This person is on the side of the road, and in the case of the Samaritan, or in the case of the individual that the Samaritan finds, the man has been beaten bloody. So in our time, beaten, mugged, raped, whatever, some horrific thing. And you catch sight of the individual and you see me, a priest, in my collar. And I'm coming upon the individual, and you think to yourself, what? Well, surely, Father is going to stop. And as I go by, you see me just sneer and keep going. And the next person to come by is the bishop. Well, surely. Or a brother from the abbey. And they also sneer and just keep going. And you come upon the individual, and what would you do? I mean, really, if you're in that situation, you're going to be like, are you all right? Somebody, call 911, I need CPR, whatever it is, right? You're going to stop, as would I, and we're going to make sure that person is taken care of. Why? Because you don't have to go across the sea or up into heaven to find the commandment of helping and loving other people. It's in you. So why in the world did the priest and the Levite not stop? They didn't stop because the Jewish hierarchy, and remember that religion and politics or government are one, had a man-made law, a Jewish precept that said you can't have anything to do with certain people. It would make you unclean. And so they are firmly convicted, absolutely on fire, excuse me, that they can't do that, to the point that they're not loving their neighbor and they're living against the core commandment that God put inside of them. That is the crux to the story. And when you look at that and you see particularly the last 100 years of humanity, it all really starts making sense. Because as bad as that is, it gets a lot worse. Such as the Nazis, fervently convicted that the Jewish people were not human and or good for humanity, and so they killed 6 million of them. And we look back and we say, well, how did that happen, right? Hitler, the only man that ever went to hell, Hitler. Well, the rest of the German nation sat back and did the exact same thing. If you go to the concentration camp in Munich, Dachau, they had to parade the Jews coming in on the train through the southern half of the city every time they came in, and people did nothing. So do I. Maybe I should change my homily to that, huh? But they did nothing because a human law got in the way of the God-given precept or law inside of their hearts of loving neighbor, because the wrong God was in place. The party became the God. And neighbors died. And then we have communism in the name of Karl Marx's Utopia and the Communist Manifesto. The Communist Party called religion the opiate of the people. And in the name of that party, 80 million people died. And we look back and we say, how did we kill 6 million Jews in the concentration camps? How did the communists wipe out 80 million of their own people? How? And then we arrive at our own time. And the interesting part about our time is that there isn't any particular party that's causing what's happening right now, but rather it is an ideological way of living that Benedict XVI coined relativism, and that looks like this. Well, what I believe, and so rather than the party or whatever thing enthroned inside of our hearts is God, in place of the real God dictating to us how we should live, we are in that spot. I, the me monster. And so what I believe becomes what God believes, and no one's going to tell me what to do. Liberation. Freedom. Well, before we say how to the past, us, have slaughtered 2 billion children globally, some 70 million in our own country via abortion. What I believe, it's my body, me. And now children die. I can live my sexuality any way I want to. The church has no right to tell me what to do. 50,000 years of pornography on the internet. I get to look at what I want to do. I will use contraception because it's my body. I can change my body into whatever I want. If I think I'm a woman, so be it. And these things, sometimes I wonder if the communists and the Nazis wouldn't look at what we're doing right now and say, that's insanity. What are they going to say about now and us after all of these things are resolved in 100 years? Right? When you go to Dachau or Auschwitz and you walk through it and you're saying, how did this happen? And the evil is just overwhelming. We must remember that people thought that was perfectly normal. Not everybody. World fought against it, just like now. Not everybody. And so in 100 years, when in the United States of America, there are tours through Planned Parenthood abortion slaughter clinics, and they are saying, who are the people that allowed this to happen? And they look back at the LGBTQ plus whatever movement, and they say, they let children in schools mutilate their bodies in the name of this insanity. Who were these people? Maybe there's a revolution of holiness in which now we're back into what the real God wants lived. And they say, who were all these people that were fornicating and living together before they were married? Who were all these people who allowed 70,000 years of pornography and all these people in the porn to be abused and all this trafficking that happened to happen? Who in God's name were these people? And then I look in the mirror and I say, Father, you're the man. We are those people. We have said nothing. Maybe we have even voted for people who support these things. Our hearts are made to love the real God and to follow Him. And when we put something else in that place, and it's a dime a dozen right now, right? Who's your God? Where do you spend your time? your talent, and your treasure, and you will find your God. And that God will dictate how you live your life and what you believe and what you are passionate and convicted about. Only you can answer that question. But in the future, when they look back, what are they going to say about us?